Hello everyone. My name is Anee Bhattacharyya. I am assistant professor at Universal School of Administration, Bangalore, and at the outset, I would like to, extend my thanks to Department of Political Science, Dispur College, Assam, for giving me this platform to discuss few issues about transgender rights and the anti-LGBTQI community pertaining to India especially. So today's lecture, the topic which I think I'll be speaking about is legalizing same-sex marriages in India. I'll be looking at the contestations and conundrums which exist, the debates which are there. No, I'll see all of these from an academic point of view, from a conceptual point of view. I'd be discussing few books which have talked about gendered citizenship, gendered nature of the nation, and how it pertains and how it translates into, the legality of the transgender rights and the debates which are emerging in India at present. So, amidst the staunch religious and political oppositions, the five judge constitutional bench began hearing a batch of pleas seeking legal validation for same sex marriages in India on April 18, 2023, which is very recently. The lawyers for the petition had argued in court that marriage as a social institution is beyond the union of just man and woman. It is a union of two people who shares a life together. Hence, the use of the word spouse instead of husband and wife should be incorporated. They argued for the inclusion of same sex marriage within the Special Marriages Act of 1954. Whereas the Solicitor General, argued that, who was, representing the government, he argued that, the court's right, he questioned the court's right to hear the matter at all. He said that, it was not an issue to be decided by five individuals, that is the judges, and only the parliament could discuss the social legal issues, the dimensions of, marriage. Disregarding the government's objections, the judges had said that they would not wade, they would not, cross the religious personal laws, but will look at the Special Marriages Act of 1954, which allows marriages between different caste and religion and weddings which are held above. And they wanted to see whether they could tweak the Special Marriages Act to include the LGBTQI people within it. So after studying this entire debates in the Supreme Court, few questions which arise for an academic understanding is, no, which remains, the questions which remains to be answered are, in India, they have already decriminalized homosexuality back in 2018. So why is the approval of legality of marriage? Why is the approval needed? Further, since right to marry has a spillover to different arenas of rights like inheritance, like adoptions, like insurance, like dowry, like domestic violence, even legitimacy of a child, how shall the court in its decision navigate between the existing laws to avail this kind of rights for the same sex couple? Rights are already available, made available to heterosexual marriage couples, and how is it possible, in which way should, the court see in order to make, available to the same sex couple all these different forms of rights? And finally, why is, the we need to also see why is the state, vehemently opposing it? So, same sex marriage at a very conceptual level, means, you know, consenting adults who are deciding to be in a matrimony. Although same sex marriage has been regulated through law, religion, and custom in majority of the countries of the world, the legal and social responses have ranged from festivity in some cases to extreme criminalization on the other. In India, for instance, have a history with homosexuality dating back to the colonial period when Section 377 of the IPC was introduced in 1860 by the colonial power to regulate the so-called unnatural sexual behavior. So, some portions of this act were already repealed by the Delhi High Court in 2009, but the Supreme Court overturned that judgment on 11th December 2013. Finally, after struggle, after immense activism, it was in 2018, very recently, that Section 377 was repealed by the Supreme Court of India as being unconstitutional in nature. So now the discrimination of homosexuality legally stopped the exploitation happening in the society. At least legally, homosexuality cannot be said to be a criminal offense. But this decriminalization does not ensure their rights or welfare. This is where the importance of legalization of same sex marriages come into being. Since most of the other rights like inheritance, adoption, etc., flows from marriage, it is important that discussions around safeguarding these rights for same-sex couple comes to the forefront. So, in its ongoing hearing for legalizing same-sex marriage, the Supreme Court of India, realizing the importance of these rights for same-sex couples, had asked the center to come up with a response about the social benefits that same-sex couples can get even without the legal recognition. To this, the center had now agreed to form a committee to examine the concerns. They have also, decided to provide administrative setups to address specific concerns related to same-sex couples. So it is understood here that the state is ready to negotiate the flow of rights for the same-sex couples, but it is against the legitimacy legalization of same-sex marriages, which it argues are against the rubrics of Indian society. Nevertheless, why is the state reluctant to legalize same-sex marriage? For this, in order to understand this, I have gone back to some certain books which questioned the gendered nature of the society or gendered nature of the state and citizenship per se. No, it says that different scholars throughout time, different feminist scholars throughout time have understood how this is big, have said that citizenship itself is a gendered concept and is shaped by the larger power structures of the society. Citizenship as a concept itself is gender biased. The notion of citizenship shares a strong affinity with that of family, which is a core element of, not only element, it's the architecture of nation building. The heterosexual family trope is vital to state on two specific grounds. Firstly, the family validates social hierarchy as natural, placing men above the women and placing the adult above the child. So hierarchy, family is the first institution which you know makes people accept hierarchy. Okay, secondly, family trope helps legitimate otherwise violent historical changes as natural or organic. Such understandings have led to family being the flag bearer of citizenship. Thus, though on the surface family appears to be constituting a private sphere, its composition and nature is strictly political. In fact, this understanding is basically taken from Yuval Davis, book, famous book, Gender and Nation. Well, she have tried to understand how nation is gender, how concept of citizenship is gendered. And in this book, she says that if citizenship is an idea built on notions of familiar hierarchy, it follows that its rights and privileges are also not distributed equally amongst people. In this book, Yuval Davis basically explored the sexist nature of the state, arguing that The constructed notions of nationhood involve specifically designed notions of manhood and womanhood. Nations are believed to be constructed upon a heterosexual procreative family system which gives specific roles to both men and women who contribute to the making of citizens for the state. All other gender and sexual identities, be it transgender, gay, or lesbian, or any other identity who have transgressed traditional identities, do not function in that way, and their existence threatens the nation built upon a procreative system. Thus, the other who is portrayed here is the danger to the nation. Hence, political and religious oppositions, which work as centers for power, in a country like India, is susceptible by non-procreative family systems and have been opposing the hearing of Supreme Court since the beginning. So, in conclusion, I would basically like to say that the other rights associated with marriage require the court to navigate amongst the existing acts related to adoption, insurance, dissolution of marriage, etc. Hence, as the Supreme Court, navigates through all these different acts, it will be interesting to see the future of same-sex marriages in India. It remains to be seen whether India becomes the 35th country in the world which gives recognition to same-sex marriage, or it joins other countries and declines it. So with this I would like to end here. Thank you very much for hearing.